Hi, this is Bryan Schaefer at the Avanti User Conference in Banff, where I just delivered 2 professional development sessions, one on performance management, one on the 5 practices of exemplary leadership. Enjoy the footage of me in action, and if you are interested in hiring me to do something like this at your conference, please let me know. Thank you very much. They sat down with leaders across countries, across nationalities, across industries, and they asked them to tell us your personal best story. So as a leader, when you were at your best as a leader, what did that look like? How did you behave? So this is really the basis of the research. And then they started to reveal similar patterns of behavior. If you do this, you do this, you do this. And then, of course, like any model, they had to label it. So they had to put names to all of these things, okay? So there's 5 practices and 2 commitments within each practice. Model the way, inspired a shared vision, and we're going to go through all of these so they will make sense by the end. Challenge the process, enable others to act. And what's the last one? I want to make sure you can see that. Encourage the heart. So here's a list of, if all of these different individuals, and the examples are here, did this, they would be better leaders. But what do you notice about the list here? Who are we talking about here that can apply this model? Everyone, yeah, exactly. So there's a correlation between your ability to behave using the model to the engagement of your constituents. We use the word constituents because we're not always talking about an employee-manager-boss relationship here, right? So constituents is a very generic term for anybody that follows somebody, a leader. So this is an interesting question that we ask, and I'd love your input on this one. Are leaders born or made? Knowing what I do for a living and the fact that I'm standing up here trying to impart this knowledge on you, what do you think? Is that? They're made, right? So I have a brochure at the back, and right on the front of the brochure it says, all leaders are born, but exemplary leaders are made. Bottom line, you can learn this stuff. There's no magic formula. You're not born into it. You may have some personality traits that people associate with credibility, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a good leader. Okay? You have to display all aspects in order for people to want to follow. The session I had this morning around performance management, that is a hard management skill. Somebody's not living up to expectations. We need to sit them down. We need to have a conversation. So one thing leadership is not is a position. It's not a title. Okay? So just because I have the title of manager or CEO or president or supervisor, that doesn't make me a leader. So it's not power or authority. Okay? So what does leadership do? What are these 5 practices? What does it get people doing? And it's really about establishing direction, aligning people, enlisting people to want to be part of what you believe in. That's leadership. It's forward thinking. Okay? It creates momentum and movement and excitement. And you build capacity within individuals. Okay? That's leadership. It produces change and movement. Points that resonate through this program is leadership is everyone's business. Leadership is a relationship. You have to understand people and get to know people, what's important to them. It's a set of skills and behaviors that can be learned. And it's an ongoing development process. The best leaders are the best learners, people that invest in wanting to get better. So hi, I'm your new leader, okay? I'm either new in an organization, or I've inherited a new team, or I'm your existing leader, but I just sat through a workshop, so now I'm a new leader. Okay? So what do people want? What are the leadership FAQs? What are the questions that they ask? Okay, leader, who are you? Where are we headed? What are you going to do? And what's in it for me? So the whole idea of what's in it for me. That's leadership. So you need to demonstrate this. Remember, leadership is earned. Just because I have the title doesn't necessarily mean I've answered all of these questions and people are going to blindly follow wherever it is you're going. If they're highly motivated and engaged and there's huge credibility in an organization, I know it's a weird expression, but they'll take a bullet for you. I mean, they will do whatever it is you ask. And guess what happens when good leaders leave organizations? And how do you know they're a good leader when they leave organizations? What happens? They'll take a bunch of people with them because they want to be with this person, because that's the kind of people I want to work for. Model the way, and here's a large picture of what we were talking about. Okay? I'm ahead, I'm leading, I'm carrying the torch. Okay? So this is all about the first question on that high new leader. Who are you? This is all about that. Okay? So clarifying your values and finding your voice, and then aligning your actions with those values. So who are you? So first of all, who am I? That's the question you need to ask as a leader. Who am I? And I'm going to pass out the values cards because they're quite interesting. We do a lot of work around these value cards. So one of the first exercises we do in a workshop is everybody gets a set of values cards, and you go through them, and you need to pick 5 of what you think is important to you personally. Okay, so that's what this is all about. Then you need to have a plan to communicate those values to your constituents so they understand them. And then what do you think the third step is? Then you need to show them so you live by those. List anything you can think of that would make a good leader or that would make you want to follow somebody. And the list was pretty long. There's probably 80 to 90 different things. So then they took that and they narrowed it down to 20. So these are the 20 that they based their research on. So the reason there's 20 up here is because these are all important. But we had to narrow it down even further. Pick 4. So just shout them out. Which ones do you think are the most important characteristics of a good leader? So then they asked the question again, and we ended up with these 4. Okay? Again, they're all important. So for instance, you could have these 4, and if you don't have some of the others, that could potentially be a problem. So we want to see all of this in our leaders. Absolutely have to be honest and care. But when we narrow it down to 4, these are the ones that come to the top. So that's the second question. Where are we going? We're not there yet, but this is credibility. This is credibility, okay? And this quote, really sums it up, right? If I don't trust you and believe in you, it doesn't matter what you say. But how do you get credibility? What does it mean? Okay? And that's, again, where a good leader will leave an organization and people will follow. Because there's trust, there's credibility, there's passion and, and inspiration and all of those things. So in an organization of high leader credibility, these are the characteristics, and this is what we want to see, with our employees. Proud of the organization. So what is this, sort of the term that we use a lot? What does this define? What's another term that we use for all of these things often? Employee what? Loyalty, engagement is the word I'm looking for. And this is where the values come in, okay? You lead by who you are as a person. So who am I? What's important to me? How do I make sure you understand that? And how do I make sure you care about that same thing at the end of the day, right? So it's all about clarifying your values. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but it's those values cards. We actually do an exercise where we clarify our own values first. Okay? Who am I? What's important to me? What are the values that I uphold the most? Okay? Share those with folks and then live by them is really what this practice is all about. You have events, you tell stories, you use examples. The best way to teach people is to tell a story, an example of how we've demonstrated this value. I work with a lot of values-based organizations, and they have their values up on the wall, and the way we teach those values is to tell me a story about how you saw this value demonstrated. So that's what you have to do as a leader. So again, here's an example. So if quality becomes one of our values as an organization or one of my top values, you have to talk about it. You have to have meetings about quality. You have to share stories about it. You have to measure it. You have to communicate how are we doing. When you see somebody demonstrating that value, you have to reward them. You have to thank them. You have to use them as an example of how we want to aspire to this. So that's how you do it. Okay? So it just becomes part of who you are and how you operate. So now we're talking about vision. Again, here's a large picture. We're looking off into the future. Okay? So what are the commitments here? Envision a future of imaginative, exciting, and ennobling possibilities. Create a vision and get people excited about it. So what is a vision? What does it look like? What does it sound like? We're going to hear one of the best speeches and visions in history. Okay? And then enlist others. Get people excited. I want to be part of this. This sounds fantastic. Because without a vision, it's like driving in fog. You can only see, 2 feet ahead. Where are we going? I don't know. Every day I make decisions and I'm told to do something. But really, what's the point? Why am I here? So that answers the second question that people ask in a leader. Where are we going? Are we driving in fog, or do we have an exciting, enabled future that sounds really exciting, that we're all striving for and looking towards and working towards? So vision pulls people forward. Do you ever get to your vision? You ever have a vision and go one day and go, hey, we're here. All right, well, let's just pack up our tents and go home. Okay? A vision is a compass. It's not a roadmap. There's no specific, okay, if we do this and do this and do this and do this, we'll get there. It's out there. It's meant to be far-reaching and often a very lofty goal, but it gets people moving and excited and inspired. Okay? Gets people to want to jump in that whitewater raft with you. It's going to be a rough ride, but it's worth it. I see all of the wonderful things in the future that makes me want to struggle. Okay, so this is your shared aspiration piece, right? Remember the quote about struggle for shared aspirations? This is our aspiration. That's what our vision is. So when you put those two things together, you put credibility, which is, do what you say you're going to do, walk the talk, tell me what's important, and you tie that to vision, okay? Now you get engagement. I'm on board. Let's go. Let's do this. Whatever you need me to do. I'll work long. I'll, take extra projects. I'll bring all my friends and family to this organization because I think it's the greatest place in the world to work. And if you leave the organization, I'm going with you. Okay? Of course, we all want employee engagement because it leads to better results. We know that. But so those two pieces together, right? Credibility plus vision. Who am I? And do I trust you? And where are we going? And I'm excited to go there too. I'm engaged. But that all comes to the leader. It's the leader's job to do this. You have to care about people, and you have to care about what people think and feel. And that's how you enlist others. So here's my team. I've got Sarah and Keisha and Kevin and Sean and Dave. And I've gotten to know these people, and I've had conversations with them, and I know what's important to them. This is what they believe in. This is what's important to them. These are their values. And then I need to enlist them. So I need to communicate to them why our values as an organization and our vision is something that you believe in as well. So then you just sort of connect the dots. You believe in this? Well, guess what? That's exactly where we're going. Challenge the process. Third one. The commitments here are really be proactive about change. Look for opportunities to do things differently and better. Always question, always challenge, always ask, is there a better way? Could we be doing this differently? Okay? Experiment, take risks, but build a culture of risk-taking, that it's okay to make mistakes. Okay? It's a culture of innovation. Okay? Look outside of your job. Look for new and exciting and innovative ways to do things differently and better. That's leadership, right? It's forward thinking. All of those leadership best stories that they heard, when do you think they were at their best? There's different kinds of change and innovation, right? There's what we call incremental change, which are small little changes that over time make a difference, and there's game changers. I would say this perhaps is a game changer in the lettuce industry. I don't know. It's a pretty, we need to sell more product. How do we do it? Well, let's cut it and clean it and put it in bags for people. Heck, let's throw in the croutons and the salad dressing too, so they don't have to do anything. But you have to encourage that. So you have to encourage a climate in which people are willing to take risks and they're actually rewarded for their innovation. It's okay to make mistakes as long as we're doing it for the right reasons and the good of the company. It's okay to make mistakes. How many organizations just encourage that and ask for that? If you're doing it for the right reasons, with the purpose of challenging and being innovative and being more creative and trying to solve problems and get better and grow and improve and work towards our vision, then absolutely go for it. And I will applaud you for that, and I will support you for that. I'm not going to hang you out to dry if it goes south and say, I never approved that, or it was his idea, not mine. You're in full support. But again, leadership is all about future and momentum. What's new, what's next? That's where the future is, and that's where we're going to be successful as an organization. Enabling others to act. Look at the picture. I'm helping you be successful. What does that look like? What are the commitments there? Foster collaboration. Share. Share in the knowledge. Let everybody be involved in the decisions. Okay? You don't stifle ideas and creativity. Okay? You build trust and relationships. Feeling empowered, right? Feeling, I can do this. I have the support. I have the training. You've heard the old expression, you set somebody up for failure. Because you set unrealistic expectations and goals. You don't give them the training and support they need, and they're going to crash and burn, right? Okay? You'd be surprised what people can do if you give them the right tools and support. They can even surprise themselves. Okay, so really, again, it's the idea of commitment versus compliance. And what's the difference between delegated and empowerment? I'm curious to know what you think about that. Ownership. Instead of just telling you what to do, I need you to do this. Here's how I want you to do it. Because I'm the expert and I know better than you and you've never done it before, so here's how I want you to do it. Or I'm going to give you a new and exciting challenge that I think you're going to really enjoy or that I think will stretch you a little bit. Here's what it looks like. Here's some of the parameters around what I need from you. But go nuts. Have fun. Good luck. If you need me, I'm here. I believe in you, and I think you can do this well. If you can come up with a better way to do it, fantastic. Run with it. Okay? So you have to allow people to try it and succeed and maybe fail the first time, but that's okay because I need you to take this thing over. I need you to do a good job, so I trust that you'll do it. Okay? And how often have we felt like this? This is the definition of powerless. Okay? Unrealistic expectations, unrealistic goals, no skill. Okay? So I'm going to just jump ahead to a diagram here that kind of sums it up a little bit. You need to give people challenges in order for them to want to continue to grow and be part of something exciting. You have to challenge people. So it's what we call the flow. It's finding the right amount of challenge to their skill level and giving them the support and the confidence and the courage to try it. Okay? So it's kind of that sweet spot. And that changes all the time. So once you start out with something, there's a little bit of anxiety and, I'm not sure if I can do this. Well, I've done it before, but I've never taken this all on my own. And you say, go for it. And they do it. And maybe they have come back with a few questions, but then they're successful. And then they're happy and excited and great. I did it. Then you have to give them something new. So you have to know your people and know their skill level and know if they're bored because you're not giving them enough challenging tasks or know if you're going to overwhelm them and they're going to be on stress leave. All right, we're into the last practice. Encourage the heart. Let's celebrate success, individually and as a group. And what about the question of the idea of recognizing individual accomplishments of somebody in a public setting? Would you have a meeting, bring your team together, pull somebody up to the front of the room, give them a prize, and thank them in front of everybody else? Would you do that? Or is that not something you're comfortable with? An example of that is I worked in an organization where they called them culture chats, fireside chats, where you'd have the EVP of the organization read letters from happy customers. And that's all it was for an hour. Senior leader in the organization read letters about something great that such and such did in the organization. Person may not have even been in the room. Do you think people walked out of that room feeling bad about themselves? I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Everybody cried. It was so beautiful, all these wonderful stories. How engaged do you think jazzed are people? Right? Because they took the time to recognize, and that's all it takes. So they asked the question, okay, do you need encouragement to perform at your best? And originally only 60% said yes, and I found that was a little strange. That should be higher. So they rephrased the question to say, when you get encouragement, does it help you perform at a higher level? And now, 98% said yes. So just a show of hands, who doesn't like to be recognized or appreciated for good work? You? You don't like to be? Yeah, who doesn't like to be? I mean, it's a rhetorical question, but I'm always curious. And of course, everybody's going to say, yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't I? Who doesn't want that? But why we as leaders aren't doing enough of that or more of that? Okay? This is it. If you don't appreciate people, they're going to stop caring. I do all this excellent work, overworked, underpaid, underappreciated. I'm going to take my business elsewhere because I think I'm a valuable employee and nobody seems to care about all the great work I'm doing. So you don't care about them, guess what? They're going to stop caring about your organization. You'll find yourself either out of business or constantly trying to retain people. start to think about this in your organization, in your team, in your leadership role. When was the last time you recognized somebody for a job well done? What did you say? Okay? When did you last help a team celebrate an accomplishment? What did you do? So it's all about, recognizing and rewarding individual excellence, team excellence, and then what does that look like? How do you do it? Do you have a celebration? Do you have a pizza lunch? Do you get people together? Do you go off-site and do something fun? Whatever. It's up to you how that's going to look, but at the end of the day, you got to do it. So the positive to negative ratio is positive interactions versus negative interactions. How many times should you say something positive to somebody versus negative? What do you think the ratio is? 10 to 1, 20 to 1, 30 to 1. The positive to negative ratio should be at least 3 to 1. At least. If you can do better, fantastic. At the end of the day, say more nice things about people and always looking for things that they've done wrong. Okay? Just think about that. And be personally involved as a leader. I love this quote, you can't delegate matters of the heart. You can't, as a leader, say, I'm too busy today to do our weekly thank you meeting, so I'm going to get someone else to do it. That's not going to work. It needs to come from you. That's all that matters to them is what you think as a leader. Okay? So you can't delegate that to someone else. You have to do it. You have to be personally involved. You have to have observed it. You have to pay attention. Okay? It's not about the celebration. It's not about the pizza lunch. It's about the effect that it has. It's about why you're doing it, to touch the hearts. That's what it's all about. Okay? That's why we call it encourage the heart.